It's now 6:37 p.m. and I now call to order the Grand Island Public Schools of Education budget hearing. This is the September 19th, 2024 meeting. Notice of this meeting has been advertised in the Grand Island Independent, which is the district's designated method of giving notice of these meetings. We want those in attendance to know that copies of the Open Meetings Act are available at the entrance to the boardroom. If anyone in attendance is interested in addressing our board, you are welcome to do so. We simply request that you complete the appropriate form and turn it in to us so that you may be recognized during the request to address the board part of our meeting. If you have not already completed the form, please see the staff person outside the entrance to this room. Public comment is welcome. We do ask that no signs be brought into the boardroom. Mrs. Dibbert, would you please call the roll, excuse me.
Mr. McFarland.
Present.
Mr. Hawley.
Here.
Mr. Garcia Mendez. Mrs. Albers. Mr. Sykes. Mrs. Jurgens. Mrs. Wilson. Mr. Helinski.
Here. Item number 3 on the agenda is request to address the board, which I assume we have none. Brings us to subject number 4, public hearing on the proposed 2024-2025 budget. Mr. Virgil Hardin.
Good evening, President McFarland and fellow other board members and staff, everybody. Hope you're still awake from the hour-long budget workshop you just sat through. So we have 3 things that are required before we actually open it up for any public comment. We have to have 3 copies of the budget available for the public. I have 3 copies right here. We have to compare last year's to this year's proposed budget, and that document is right here in front of you and being projected. You all were given a handout that included this slide, and I covered it in detail at our workshop. There are no members of the public here to further iterate, and I have nothing to add, but I would happily answer any questions you might have or anything you feel. And before we go to that, the other thing is that I have to highlight key things that are different or about the budget for next year, and I have that, and I'll do that after I answer any questions you might have on this page that's presented. Any questions on the differences from that last year versus what's being proposed for this year? On the general fund specifically. Hearing none, I'm going to just keep with the presentation so we can open it up for public comment, if any. So I'm going to minimize this document and open up the sheet that you all have this in front of you. And so I'm just doing this for the benefit of the viewing public. So key provisions, and I'm just going to go through these again for the benefit of those that might be viewing this meeting live or later. Overall, the general fund budget is up 3.61%. Property tax valuation from last year to this year is up 5.94%. The property tax asking that Grand Island Public Schools is going to consider later on in a hearing that follows this one is up 3.84%. And there is no pink postcard joint public hearing that we had to participate in because we're exactly at the limit. We reduced our spending from last year to this year in anticipation of cost due to staffing increases and federal funding going away of about $4.5 million. The ESSER's federal funding I just mentioned is indeed going away, either spent or gone on or before September 30th. Cash fund reserves are at the ideal target level. Working on a tender offer in the bond fund to save the taxpayers additional money in the future to lower the levy further. 24-25 includes targeted investments in staff, including benefits, safety and security projects, investments in curriculum instruction, and investments in our poverty, EL, and SP program. We continue to spend what we can afford and live within our means, and we plan to spend about $135 million out of the general fund, even though the budget that we're talking about is for $201 million in the general fund. The overall budget for the whole district is in the $325 million range for all funds. So with that, I would think that we have fulfilled our statutory duties, and we can now, I'll turn it back over, see if you have any questions and public comment, and then the hearing is done.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Hardin? Seeing none, I call this meeting adjourned. It is now 6:42 PM.
We need something.
Levy.
Well, we have another budget meeting.
We got.
You're not done. You what?
We need gavels, it doesn't change.
Oh, gavel.
And I now call to order the Grand Island Public Schools Board of Education levy hearing. This is the September 19, 2024 meeting. Notice of this meeting has been advertised in the Grand Island Independent, which is the district's designated method of giving notice of these meetings. We want those in attendance to know that copies of the Open Meetings Act are available at the entrance to the boardroom. If anyone in attendance is interested in addressing our board, you're welcome to do so. We simply request that you complete the appropriate form and turn it into us so that you may be recognized during the request to address the board part of our meeting. If you have not already completed the form, please see the staff person outside the entrance room. Public comment is welcome. We do ask that no signs be brought into the boardroom. Mrs. Dibbert, would you please call the roll?
Mr. McFarland.
Present.
Mr. Hawley. Mr. Garcia Mendez. Mrs. Albers. Mr. Sykes. Mrs. Jurgens. Mrs. Wilson. Mr. Helinski.
Item number 3 on the agenda is request to address the board, which I assume we have none. Item number 4, public hearing on proposed fiscal year 2024 to 2025 levy. Mr. Virgil Harden.
Thank you again, and just for matter of public record, we covered this in detail at the budget workshop that we just had prior to this, which was open public meeting. And so as a matter of just quick review, I have presented to you one of the slides that you also have in a handout that we covered during the meeting that clearly shows the difference in changes by fund for Grand Island Public Schools from 23-24 to 24-25. The good news is an overall levy decrease of just short of 2 cents at 1.7 cent reduction in the levy. So I believe we've covered what's required. So with that, I would end my comments and answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Harden? Seeing none, I call this meeting adjourned. Board of Education special meeting Monday, September 23rd, 2024 at 5:30 PM. Then regular Board of Education meeting Thursday, October 10, 2024 at 5:30 PM.
On the 100,000, let me,
All right, so you're free till Monday.